Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I got another video for you on Population 1 weapons, and this time I'm going to take an in-depth look at the SMGs, the submachine guns. Enjoy! So let's start with the difference between assault rifles and SMGs. SMGs, or submachine guns, are built for close quarters combat. They usually have a high rate of fire and are less effective from distance than assault rifles. As you can see here, the SMG in the game has a big damage drop-off if you hit your target from a distance. If you want more info on assault rifles, click on the card in the top right corner. So let's take a look at the SMGs. There are currently 3 SMGs in the game. We will start with the P90. The P90 is a fully automatic SMG with 45 rounds in the magazine at the lowest tier. We will now do our standard bullet spray and recoil test. First, we will fire the gun one-handed. Next, two-handed. And third, while trying to control the recoil by pulling the weapon down when firing. As you can see, the bullet spread and recoil of the P90 is pretty huge, both horizontally and vertically. Let's take a look at the weapon stats. As mentioned, the P90 already starts with a very big magazine at 45 rounds at the lowest tier. This is increased by 5 shots with every tier you go up, giving you a total of 60 rounds at the golden tier. That's the biggest magazine size in the game. When taking a look at the damage output, the P90 does 12 damage for a body shot and 15 for a headshot. Now for the pros of the P90. The P90, as mentioned, stands out with its huge magazine, which is a big advantage in any close quarter encounter. The cons of the P90 is its significant recoil and the fact that it has no sight, so it can only be fired from the hip. It's a gun that's very hard to control. Next up is the UMP or UMP. Again, a fully automatic weapon with 28 bullets in the magazine at the lowest tier. Now let's take a look at the bullet spread and recoil test. Once again, one-handed, two-handed, and while pulling down to compensate for the recoil. You can immediately see the huge difference in recoil and spread with the P90. There is very little vertical movement, which makes it a lot easier to hit your targets with the UMP. The UMP has a magazine size of 28 at the lowest tier, increasing by 4 with each tier you go up. At the golden tier, you will have a total of 40 rounds in the magazine. Damage-wise, the UMP is not great. Last week, the damage has been decreased during a game update to 11 for a body shot and 13 for a headshot. Now for the pros of the UMP. The UMP, as shown, has very little recoil, making it sure to compensate for the low damage output with a better chance to hit your targets. The cons of the UMP are its lower damage and the fact that there's no sight attached, which means you'll have to hip fire it. Last, we have the MP5. The MP5 is also a fully automatic SMG with only 21 rounds in the magazine at the lowest tier, which is significantly lower than the others. Now again for the bullet spread and recoil test. We'll fire one-handed, two-handed, and while aiming down the sight and pulling down. We can see that the recoil is pretty significant when firing one-handed, but gets better when you fire it two-handed or aim down the sight. There's little horizontal movement until the end of the magazine where the recoil moves slightly right. This makes it pretty good to control. The MP5 has the smallest magazine of the SMGs, with only 21 bullets at the lowest tier, increasing with 3 rounds each tier you go up. At the golden tier, there are 30 rounds in the magazine. The MP5 has good damage for an SMG, with a damage output of 13 for a body shot and 16 for a headshot. Now for the pros of the MP5. The MP5 has high damage output for an SMG, and it also comes with a hollow sight, giving you the option to aim down the sight and be more accurate, especially at medium distance. The clear con of the MP5 is its small magazine size. In my assault rifle video, I failed to mention the fact that the recoil also gets less with every tier your weapon goes up. To illustrate this, I tested different SMGs against a different weapon tier. First, we can see the P90 white tier versus the P90 cyan. Next, the UMP white tier versus the UMP at the purple. At last, the MP5 white tier versus the golden tier. It's hard to give exact numbers on the recoil reduction, but it seems to go down by about 15% each tier in gun you go up. Now, let's compare our three SMGs. Let's start with the bullet spread and recoil. When we lay them next to each other, it's very clear that the UMP has the least recoil of the SMGs. The MP5 starts off with a pretty significant vertical recoil, but can be controlled very well while aiming through the hollow sight and pulling down. The P90 is the gun that is hardest to control, with the most vertical, but also horizontal recoil. For the magazine size, we can see that the P90 is the clear winner with more rounds at the lowest tier than the second best the UMP has at its highest tier. The MP5 has by far the lowest magazine size. Damage-wise, however, the MP5 is at the top, with the P90 coming in second and the UMP in third place. Since these stats seem pretty well balanced, we will have to take a look at the DPS statistic to make a clear conclusion. The P90 fires 40 shots in 3.04 seconds for a total damage of 480. This brings its DPS to 157.89. The UMP fires 28 shots in 2.12 seconds for a total damage of 308. This comes down to a DPS of 145.28. The MP5 fires 21 shots in 1.76 seconds for a total damage of 273. This is a slower rate of fire than the other two. This gives the MP5 a DPS of 155.11. When we look at these results, we can see that the P90 scores highest in total damage per magazine. It can take out two enemies who have full shields and health at the lowest tier, and also in DPS, making it the most deadly SMG. Only side note is that at lower tiers you might have more difficulty hitting your targets, which are a little further away, but in the end the SMGs are mostly used at close range. So for my conclusion, I rank the P90 with a 9. Its big magazine size, high rate of fire and decent damage make it a no-brainer for close quarters combat. It could also be your golden ticket if you're in a 1v3 situation. I rank the UMP with an 8. The UMP has very little recoil, which will compensate for its lower damage output because you will hit your target more often. I rank the MP5 with a 7. I personally really like the hollow sight on the MP5, making it very accurate in the right hands. With its good damage output, you can take an opponent out quite quickly. However, its smaller magazine size makes it become less deadly than the other two. This was my take on the SMGs in Population 1. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you want to keep an eye on my videos. Thank you all for watching and see you soon.